to Generation Dan, a show with Gen X, Gen Y, and sometimes Gen Z.
As is the Gen Z way.
Yeah, they're nomads. They're nomads, and I guess gypsies. Maybe that seems. I remember when I was in high school, I would call people gypsy. I'm like, "You're a gypsy," and they're like,
That's
and I'm
isn't
like,
that kind of a slur, right? Isn't
I
it
don't give a
toward the
shit.
Romani people? I'm not sure. In any case, this show is brought to you by It's 90 degrees in LA, and I live on the second floor.
Fans make an unpredictable whizzing sound that do
Yeah.
not make good for audio. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
so I am in a fanless room on the second floor. I'm Atlas Novak. I'm your millennial. Who else is here with me today?
I'm Dino, the genetic marvel, and I'm your Gen Xer.
And our guest here today, he has the most fantastic facial hair I have ever seen. He runs a show at the Improv in LA. It's Andy Ryder, everybody.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Just for those listening, so you understand what degree of chops these are. You could definitely make like 2 cornrows, like down, and then have them come off his chin. They're that long, and I respect it. I respect the commitment. You know, it's a solid work ethic that's untraditional for your generation, sir. That's
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Like, for people listening to this, it's basically, imagine if, okay, so you have like Chester A. Arthur's mutton chops, but they got away from him.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. No, so our Gen Z person is missing today because he's moving, which is what a horrible experience moving is, just in general.
The worst.
It's like, and I was raised very much, hey, one trip, that's it. You don't get 2 trips.
That's it.
One trip, anything more than one trip, you either have too much stuff or not enough friends. Either one is a disgrace on your household. How dare you? Be better, right? And because my dad had a machine shop, so we had like a full-size truck and straps. So I would go like 15 feet in the air, just hucking stuff on top, strapping it down. I'm like, let's do it every time.
Not everyone's got a goddamn truck from a machine shop and straps. Some people have to go to, like, I don't know, the U-Haul for shit like that.
Yeah, which is a horrible experience. It's a horrible experience.
I moved I think 12 or 13 times as a kid growing up, all within the Charleston area. So lots of family trucks, lots of family with trucks, lots of strapping things down, stuff occasionally not making it, stuff occasionally falling in the middle of the road.
Why so many times? Because I was originally going to say Army brat, but you said in the Charleston area. So.
Yeah, no. It was like a lot of I don't know. My mom doesn't ever feel comfortable in one house. Like if she's in a house, she's looking at a new house, or like there was a few times we lived in apartments between houses because we sold the house but didn't have the new house yet. So we were like in an apartment for about 6 months to a year, and you're like, all right, this is fun.
Listen,
and then we moved to a new place.
I didn't want to say anything, but the mutton chops just give away your bourgeoisie lifestyle that you grew up in. Obviously, you're like, we had to move around all the time. It's depending on the sun and what season it was. We had a different area of residence.
You can catch me on season 4 of Succession.
I don't know if you guys parents did this, and I think I'm slowly finding out that this is not the norm. But like, my mom, what she liked to do for fun was to go into houses that were still being built and just looking around and deciding how they should be. I was like, are we supposed to be here? She's like, it's fine. And I was like, are we moving? And she's like, no, I just want to look at this house. And she's like, the bathroom's in the wrong place here. And I was like, why are we doing this right now? Who is this?
I feel like your mom should have just gone to architectural school instead of like dragging her entire family like you said, 12 to 13 times. That's roughly once a year from kindergarten through when you graduate high school. That's nuts.
Hey, I'm with you, man. Let's do it.
Did you have to move did you have to change schools every time or no?
No. Like, we only had to change school districts like one time. The rest of the time was just within that area, just constantly moving around. I will say this. There was one time we had to move because of me. I caused a problem. When I was like 11 or whatever, we moved briefly into my grandparents' house because they had moved to Georgia. And we were living in their house rent-free for like 6 months while we waited for our house that we were moving into to be built. And that house was not in my school district, but I couldn't remember the address for it. So when I went to school and they were like, hey, fill out your address. And I was like, uh-oh. So I filled out a different address 5 or 6 times. And my mom was like, great, now they know we don't live in the school district. We have to move back to that school district. So we were only in that house for like 2 months or something like that. And they had to move to an apartment for a few months. So that was good.
Damn.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, like, you're 11 or 12, so, like, your parents couldn't have been like, well, he's a stupid kid. He just remembered the address wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. They
So,
could,
for sure.
Yeah.
That was not the. You know what? Realistically, like, did you screw up? Yes. Was it your fault? Like, ultimately, the responsibility falls to you. But is it really your fault? No. You should have gotten like a little card. Be like, honey, if someone asks for your address, this is the card. Just follow it here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You guys were at a perfect time with regards to your age group that there wasn't as madness as it is where it's like people are just getting abducted now. Who knows? Like for Caleb, you're like, oh, he's definitely on that track. That's for sure. But
Wait, what?
Yeah.
this is just the safety of like you can have your address and people would be okay with that. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Now it's like
gotcha,
remember it
yeah.
because people will just ask you and they're gonna steal your entire identity. You're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, that's true. Unless you want to get doxxed or something.
I love it.
It's funny because, like, my mom was an army brat, so she moved, like, I think, like, 15 times between, like, when she was lucid to the end of high school.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
did she like go to like interesting places at least when she moved around, or no?
She's lived in like Connecticut, Palos Verdes, Toronto in Canada, in Texas, in I have to like ask her because she has given it to me in bits and pieces. I've never sat down and got the comprehensive like
look. But realistically, as a kid, you're not going to appreciate the cool places, right? Like, I was 6 years old, and my parents took me to a amphitheater in just outside of Corinth in Greece.
Wow!
And we heard a play that was there's no speakers whatsoever. It has been fully restored, and you just speak, and the artist you'll hear their voice all the way in the back.
Wow.
You know what I wanted? To go home. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I want to go home. I'm tired. My feet hurt.
Yeah.
Fat little kid. I want a hamburger. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't really appreciate as a youth that amount of travel. It's gonna do some damage to you. Like, fuck, man. It's hard enough to make friends.
My mom took, or our parents took my sister and I to England when I was 3 and she was 6. I don't remember shit. What's even the point? I would love to go to London as an adult, but like when you're 3, you're like, I just figured out the toilet like a year ago, and I don't know.
Now they're gonna switch it up on you.
Yeah, I don't know what that big clock thingy is, but it's cool. I guess I want to go home.
Big clock thingy.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
these days.
yeah.
Who says Americans don't know geography? It's great. That's fantastic.
Well, we're going to continue our moving talk in a bit and make fun of Caleb while he's not here. But first, I got some questions for Andy. So our first one here is, what is an embarrassing song from your playlist?
I'm truly not embarrassed by any songs on my playlist. Like, I'm pretty okay with everything I listen to. But I will say that Robert Palmer's cover of Mercy, Mercy Me has like a really embarrassing keyboard tone to it. I really think that's a cheesy sounding keyboard sound in that song. But his voice is so much better than the rest of that keyboard sound that I'm like, can't be. I like this song so much despite this keyboard tone.
Okay, so from on a scale from Aha's Take On Me to Sugar Sugar, how embarrassing are we talking?
Oh, I mean, those sound great in comparison to this. Like that, the keyboard tone sounds, it's that horrible early 90s synthesized keyboard sound where it's like we're trying to go for light adult contemporary jazz feel. And we don't want a real piano to really scare off people.
Yeah. All right, the Berlin Wall just fell, and we're going to bring on some adult contemporary.
Exactly. It's truly awful. But again, his voice is so much better than the rest of that. Like it soars over that I'm like, all right, this song is still so good despite this keyboard tone.
What's the Robert Palmer's the one who does like Doctor Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you. That's him. Right?
He did Simply Irresistible. I Want a New Drug.
I Want a New... Wait, no. I thought I Want a New Drug was Huey Lewis.
Oh, that's right. You're right. It's Huey Lewis. No, what did he do? And then he was like in a big band for a while that also had like a couple of hits. So I'm trying to remember. He had other hits. I just can't recall off the top of my head. I just remember Simply Irresistible because that music video is just so like iconic in a lot of ways.
Sneaking Sally Through the Alley.
No, don't know that one.
That was his debut album, apparently.
Oh, okay.
You guys all had hippie parents with your weird music.
Yeah.
I'm too high for that conversation. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. And then how about the next one? Which is, what's something you like to do because you're an adult and no one can stop you anymore?
Make pancakes for dinner.
I've always been a fan of breakfast for dinner. It is a fantastic feeling that you get.
It's very good, but it's also like a weird thing because like you look back on it as an adult, like you look back on it when it happened as a kid, and there was always moments when either your parents were way too lazy to like make an actual meal, or because you were poor and you just weren't aware of it. Because like breakfast is like the most basic ingredients. Anything like here's meat, here's an egg. It's something with. Here's some flour. I don't know. We're gonna put some oil in it. Boom! Now you got a pancake.
Yeah.
I feel like having breakfast for dinner as a kid, you're like something's gone wrong. You're like this is a situation. I'm not being told something because I'm a child.
There's always tears mixed in that meal somehow.
A little bit, yeah. But
I didn't see it, but there's definitely some tears in there.
So. Okay, I'll be honest with you, I've never thought about it from that perspective. Mm-hmm. That's accurate, number one. But but as an adult, I do not feel the same way. Like, if I say, you know what, I'm going to order some breakfast from a diner for dinner, I feel great. I'm like, I am in control of my universe. I'm just doing whatever I want, living in the moment. It's very exciting. But as a kid, you know what? Definitely tears. That is 100% accurate. Yeah. Fuck.
I don't know. Yeah, because like Brenner is so. I'm such a fan of it, and I feel like it's something that's almost stigmatized, but I don't think it needs to be. You know
why? It's because in the middle of the night, if you pull up to a diner. Right?
Yeah.
Or like an IHOP. Nothing good is happening there. Nothing beneficial for anyone is going to be having like someone's going to have a bad time at that IHOP at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Like the late IHOP visit, especially with us being comedians. Like you either go to the diner after when you had like such a great set and you can't just go home and go to bed. Guy did some food first or something, or it was so terrible. You're like, I need to drown this in bacon.
Someone's mic is really messed up right now.
It's static right now.
I think it might be you, Andrew. Sorry.
It is. Yeah.
It always is. Oh, maybe if I get headphones or something?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just mark it down for at the 14-minute mark.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut it off, but it's just fucking horrible.
Yeah, I
know. Sorry, dude.
That's what it sounds like on my end.
I saw you a couple times look at me, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? I've been experimenting, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's this button, maybe it's me. Who knows?
No, the easy way to test is like, if it keeps going, it's because it's his phone is picking up our voice.
Yeah, and try and run it through the speaker.
How's that?
Now it sounds like we're under a waterfall.
Yeah, play with the plug a little bit.
I don't really have a plug to play with. It's just connected,
Bluetooth.
So it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just be careful as to how close the mic is, like, because right now it sounds okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it sounds great. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll pick up from here.
Okay, so
Okay.
something about. Oh, yeah, I remember what I was talking about.
Yes.
Okay, so either you just had like a fucking fantastic set, and you gotta just talk with your friend and like get some food, or it's like that meme with SpongeBob in the diner where you're just like, I bombed pretty hard. Must drown in bacon. Like,
Yeah.
but
That's for sure.
I don't think it necessarily like that's not always the case for everybody. Like sometimes Brenner seems to be like this weird like polarization of feeling where it's either you're having like a fun night out or everything's going fucking awful and I need food. It's never just
I feel like it's a Hail Mary attempt at recovery too, right? Like if things are going too awesome, the last thing you want to do is, if it's going too awesome, is you don't want to go off a cliff, right? You want to just come back down to normal. You know, I have a nice meal, go home, sleep in, I'm good. I wake up not hungover and I didn't die, right? Yeah. Whereas if you are having just a shit show of a day, I remember when we would volunteer, we would have to move stuff. We were part of we would volunteer for a festival night for an old age home, and they would do like a lot of their fundraising that night. Mm-hmm. And we would be like breaking down the scenery and stuff and shipping it back to the old age home, but we'd have to do it immediately right afterward. So we would work till like 8 o'clock in the morning. And at 8 o'clock, we'd go get breakfast, right? And you get like a fucking pig's breakfast. Like, you do a bunch of McGriddles and you're like, just the worst stuff you can get at McDonald's, like 6 hash browns and stuff. You're like, nothing good for you. But when you do that, you're kind of like, you know what? I got a full tummy and nobody got hurt. It was a good night. You know, we brought it back. Everything's going to be fine. Now I'm going to go sleep for the rest of the day, you know?
Yeah. Did you guys grow up with like Waffle Houses? Do you guys have Waffle Houses?
No. We had, like, I'm in Toronto, and we had, like, by the time I was, like, 16, 17, we had a couple of 24-hour Denny's in my area, which were fantastic. But not really much other than that was 24 hours that, like, you should not be at. Like, it was not safe if you had girls with you, for sure.
I am a SoCal kid, so not a lot of Waffle houses out here in SoCal.
So that was something I had to get used to, actually, is that, like, Denny's in the Southeast is considered trash.
Really?
Like, yeah, we're like, this is not good. Like they would have, like, the lowest possible rating on their restaurant as far as, like, you know, is this place clean and stuff like that? So I was like, you go to Denny's? Why? That's bad, you know? And so, like, we had Waffle Houses, and Waffle Houses, like, I don't know how they keep it clean. I remember one time, like, driving by one, and there was cops outside, there was broken glass. I looked at apparently a man with a shotgun just showed up to that Waffle House, but they were still serving customers too.
Yeah,
like, we're not.
The fact that there's literally an index to like show how bad a natural disaster is based off of Waffle House.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, it's terrible, but it's resilient, you know?
You know what? Yeah. I think that's the key, though, is that you still got service.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shit might go down, but you know what? It was mind your own business, and service continues. I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Like, I'm not going to bring my wife, but at the same time, I might go just to have a story, because it'd be fun.
Yeah. I think bring your wife so you have a witness. She's got a staff, and I remember one time being at a Waffle House with, like, my brother and his wife and my wife, and we were just sitting there. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and in walks a couple, and the woman had not finished doing her Halloween tiger makeup, so it was just on half her face, and the other half was plain, and she clearly looked annoyed that she'd only had time to do half her face. But I was like, we were all seeing this now, right? A woman with half tiger makeup just walked in here.
So it's like so it's like Phantom of the Opera.
It is.
Yes. She was gonna stab someone. That's how that story goes. She
had a coin, and one half had heads, and the other had half a tiger on it, and she was like, maybe, you know.
Oh, wait, no. Even better. Phantom of the Opera in Zootopia.
Yes. There you go. Exactly.
There it is.
That seems fair.
Yeah. Let's see the gross half of your face so I can go home.
I'm bad because like I'm very used to people looking at me because I'm 6'2" and 400 pounds. I'm a huge person, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I'm like I can fill up a doorway. I'm used to people looking at me, but when someone weird walks in, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like every time, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad for that because it's not nice, right? But at the same time, like, look, if Andrew walked in, I'm like, what the fuck? How'd you do that, man? Like immediately,
Why
It's
not? Yeah, of course.
well, I feel like I just get it out of the way, and then we could just get back to normalcy. Because I'm gonna wonder, like, if you walk up and you go and shake my hand and you only got 2 fingers, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, I need a story. Tell me that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Why the fuck not? If you're
So,
not embarrassed, I want to hear a story.
so I noticed you're missing 3 fingers. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I still got one, and then it's like this. So he's like trying to flip you off, but like it's like less effort, right? He just okay. So it's the equivalent of just doing this.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's fine. Hey, then I know that they're an asshole. I didn't want them to get to know you anyway, man. The best story I heard about that or witnessed with that was I went to an old-timey theater to watch. I took 2 friends to watch Event Horizon because they had never
Sweet.
seen it. And it's an
Great.
awesome horror movie. It was on
Yeah.
it was on the day. It was Devil's Night, I think, that it was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw it. Awesome. And as we're leaving, some people were dressed up, right? And it was like, okay, whatever, just for Halloween. And there was a guy at one of the counters. So as people are leaving, he had a patch on his eye, and it was kind of fancy. Okay. So he was walking out, and a girl who was like super, super chipper was working like a popcorn counter. She's like, "Oh my god, I love your eye patch costume." He's like, "It's not a costume," and she was like, "Oh," it's like, damn! I just love the story, man. It's just so great because her positivity just gone forever. It was just never talk to anyone, no compliments to strangers ever again. It's hilarious.
She could have just said, "Oh, I like your eye patch." Then
You would think, but as soon as she said costume, you were like, "Uh-oh." Yeah. And I'm not 100%. He may have been lying because it did look very fancy, but I don't know if it was like fancy costume or fancy, I've invested in this identity that has been thrust upon me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Look, if you're going to have an eye patch, you might as well double down and get it with like a laser or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you got to do some awesome stuff to it, make it fun.
Have it like glitter like differently from different angles, so people come walking this way, it says "fuck you." I don't know, something.
My mom has this bowl that she keeps in her living room. It's basically a disco ball, the bowl. So at certain times of the day, the whole room just lights up.
Yeah.
So basically a disco eye. And then so he's just outside, and it's just
like every Halloween he goes as the Borg. I feel that would be a thing.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Go, like what? Listen, there's no harm in having it picked out for you, and if anything, you can invest in the same outfit, and it'll be the realest. It's very cool. I think that's reasonable.
I do feel like with prosthetics and stuff like that, like how good the person's insurance is based on how good their prosthetics or their teaching methods. Like you just have you don't even have a wooden hand. You just have a piece of wood where a hand would be. Okay. All right.
It's the degree of ninja grip that you still have.
Yeah.
Depends on how good the insurance is. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
There's
I had a classmate whose dad made prosthetics like in his basement, which like sounds like he ran his own shop. But whenever he first said that, like he was like, "I want to be like my dad," and we're like, "Oh, what does that mean?" He's like, "I want to make prosthetic limbs." I was like, "Whoa, okay, what?"
Okay. Damn.
He's
like, "No, that's what my dad does." I was like, "Oh, okay, good, okay." For a living, like for other people, not just for himself, right? Yeah.
He walks around with 6 arms. He's like, "Whoa!"
So basically, so he just wants to be Doc Ock, but he's like for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
That is not a good image for people.
No.
No, but like that's a cool thing to do for people, right? Like there's been a huge. I never realized how insane that industry is because there are a lot of people who do the prosthetics like 3D printed at home, and like it's just like a basic kit, and you're like, oh, okay, because it's crazy expensive to get one. Like you see people who are like, oh, it's carbon fiber and stuff. And you're like, yeah, man, that is like top tier stuff. Like that is not accessible by a lot of people.
There was I read this story about this knight in the Holy Roman Empire who had his hand lopped off. So he had a blacksmith make him an iron hand that basically could be open or squeezed closed. So he would just squeeze it closed and put a sword in there and just like be a knight.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And this is like, 15th century, 16th century. And he has a prosthetic hand. That's amazing.
See, that's why I get people who like really indulge in the steampunk type stuff where you're like, yeah, it looks wild. Why? Because it was awesome. Can you think about some old timey guy with like a steam engine on his back to have a motorized hand? You're like, that's insane. I love it.
This is pre-steam engine too. This is like
that's why like there were prosthetics for all sorts of situations. Like that kind of stuff was realistically back then people got limbs taken away from them, right? So it wasn't like, oops, it was more fuck that guy. It was a different environment to live in.
Yeah. What was that cool scene in Army of Darkness where Ash has to change out his chainsaw hand for like a metal hand that he crushes things with? I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. I like that.
Absolutely.
That's the thing about the knight with the iron hand. You can watch it after, but just
I'm definitely gonna watch that after.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. The third question that I completely forgot about.
There's there we go.
The last one. What is the first time you felt like a grown up?
Yeah. Really had grown upness thrown upon you, really.
Yeah.
I think I didn't ever feel like it was thrust upon me. I just felt like at some point I had to accept that this is what I was, because I was waiting for the feeling to hit, but I don't feel like I accepted, like I wasn't going to get the feeling until I was like 30. I was like, well, I'm 30, so whatever this thing is that's supposed to be like, I'm an adult now. It's like, well, it's not happening. I mean, like at the time I think I had like a house and stuff like that and paid a mortgage and stuff and I still felt like, I feel like there's supposed to be something more adult happening right now. I just don't know what it is. But I was just like, nope, I guess this is what an adult is. So I was 30. But also, like, my mom was like 20 when she had me, and my grandmother was 16 when she had my mom. So I was like, I don't think the feeling ever hits. You just start taking responsibility for things.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
See,
I think that's interesting because, like, my parents had me at 40, so the contrast of like, especially even growing up, where seeing how I interacted with my parents versus I was seeing how like my classmates interacted with their parents. Their parents just had like energy, and like growing up, like the baseline reaction to a lot of stuff from my parents was, "I'm too tired for this shit." Just this thing with the hand, like, whatever. But I feel like if you're like 20, you're like, you're playing with your kid and you're like helping them learn and grow, and like as they're kind of like coming into their own adults. And for my parents, they were just like, my dad had 3 degrees by the time I was born, and was like a medical doctor and a PhD, and it's like, dude.
See, that's the thing, though, is like when in your 20s, you still don't have your shit together. That makes it a very different environment where you're like, hey, you know what? This is the party line. Everybody's going to have a hand on it, okay? Everyone's got a job. Everybody's got to do shit, right? Like, for me, I was the youngest of 5. When my parents were having kids, by the time I rolled around, they didn't have much more fight, man. They lost the fight as soon as I was hitting puberty. It was over. Like, they could not. They're just like, who gives a shit? Just do whatever you want. Just fuck off, kid. Like, they did not care, right? So, like, it's a whole other environment. And, like, especially, can you imagine? Like, even now, even my wife and I, we're still thinking about kids, even though we're a little bit older, right? I look a lot older than I actually am. Yeah, I'm aging like milk on the outside. But ultimately, it's still a thought where it's like, hey man, that's retirement age, and my kid will be going to university, and you're like, fuck. That's not a fun thing. I don't feel like that's a comfortable thing for me to enjoy. That's weird.
What to be retiring as your kid goes off to college?
Listen, man, there's a 50-50 chance I'm not going to last that long in and of itself, right? Like, I'm a ticking time bomb. Even I went to go buy weed the other night, and the guy was like, I'm like, hey, I want something that'll help me sleep, but also something else that will get me really fucked up. Because I'm fat and I do drugs. So what do you got? And he was like, okay, give me a second. And then he found it out, and I'm like, hey, man, listen, I'm a ticking time bomb. I'm going to enjoy the time I have left. Fuck it. I don't give a shit anymore, right?
I just love the idea of the guy being like, hang on. He's basically like Ollivander in Harry Potter, where he's like picking out wands for you. Like,
that's exactly how I treat people at the weed store. I'm like, hey, I need something that will really kick the shit out of me, because like something that'll beat the shit out of a normal, like a regular pot smoker. Mm-hmm. That's what I have. Like, and I don't smoke that much, but I'm just very fat. Yeah. So
all right.
it's
indica wood with the sativa core, and and it's good for hexes.
Exactly. That's fair. I feel like that's the new. Oh God.
What bud tenders are like? So basically, to the millennials listening to this, and you're like, I want to be in the Harry Potter. Go to a weed dispensary. That's the closest you're gonna get.
I feel that's an art. That's a new art of being able to write. Like, let's be honest. Like a sommelier for wine, that guy's an asshole, right? Like, it's not to say that he hasn't achieved a great thing as a sommelier, but he's also a fucking douchebag, right? Yeah. Whereas you're like somebody who knows weed that can tell you about weed, you're like, hey man, he's someone for the people. You're like, he's helping you out because the man can't help you. I think it's good.
Do you feel like it's super common within the world of weed, though, as far as like people who really know everything, or is that just like sort of a rarity that like movies have kind of been like, this is the guy, this is what it is? Because like I feel like most people, I have friends who sell weed, and I'm like, you are not a person I would take recommendations from. Like, I don't smoke it or whatever, but as like a regular person, I was like, I don't take advice from you or recommendations for things.
Yes.
I can actually weigh in on this.
Let's Atlas. Yeah, I want to hear yours too.
Okay, I used to work at a weed dispensary. So now, granted, I was the receptionist to begin with. So, yeah. But at a certain point, my manager was like, I want to make you a bud tender. I'm like, I don't know how to get this across to you. I don't smoke weed as much as you think I do. I know zero things about it. And how am I going to recommend it to people? And he goes, literally, you can just guess and it'll be fine. So that is how you know. Yeah, they're just making shit up. Yeah,
also true. So, look, but the difference is this. It's the same idea. Like, when I was growing up was before the internet. So people had to be convincing in how they told you stuff, right? Like, that is a lost art amongst yours and the next generation, where people just lie and you're like, you have so many points where that could have been made believable, and you just fucked it, right? Your delivery's all off. You're like, you started at the high, you ended on the low, you got everything backwards, and you made it just too unbelievable to be believable. You know,
they don't make grifters like they used to.
They don't. Listen, being a charlatan is a skill set that is coming back. Okay, because I believe Instagram is the charlatans' world. I'm a firm believer, right? Because let's be honest, there's been too many reports of people getting pooped on that I'm like, listen, I don't think you guys are being honest on here. To be like, this is some weird shit you guys are doing, and it's weird, right?
Where did you Amber Heard that?
I saw those pictures, man. That was a full deuce. that was bigger than the dog. No one was gonna believe. See, same thing. If she was like, hey, someone brought a big dog and the dog dropped a deuce, that's believable. But saying it was those little teacup dogs, you're like, listen, no one's believing that. That's not going to happen.
See? Their ass better be hanging out. Yeah.
Exactly. No, they would have been turned inside out with that dump. Are you kidding? Yeah. That's ridiculous. But that's why it's just so weird, right? And that's like now I'm at a point where I'm I've lost my willingness to try and explain to people that I know that they're full of shit. So I just go, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So I'll just say, hey, do you have an opinion on this? And the guy will be like, oh, yeah, this is good. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And be like, okay, no, he's an idiot. That's fine.
Yeah.
I can't let someone being an idiot and thinking they're an expert. Look, man. I was a financial planner, Andrew, for 15 years. Like I got a watch and everything from this company.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great responsibility. I managed millions of dollars, and you know what? There's been times I went for a haircut and some guy started giving me investment advice, and I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool. Super duper, man. That's a great plan. And I'm just like, I walk away, and he's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know a lot about investments. Okay, yeah, great. No, you know nothing. You know nothing. And you know what? I don't give a shit. I just knew whatever you were saying, that the opposite, that would make more money. 100% of the time. That's fine. But that's what people do. And that's so, yeah, like, I don't think people are actual experts. I think people can regurgitate information well, because a lot of times it's written well, like on a menu going, oh, this is this dish, and blah, blah, blah. It's a steak and potatoes. What more do you need? Just fucking eat steak and potatoes, asshole. You know? So it's the same principle. It's more so people relaying their experience is something that I trust, but also, you know, you got to vet it where you're going, oh, that guy's an asshole. Whatever. Fine. So be it. Which I feel like a lot more people are now. Well, you guys, hold on. Andrew, you're also in LA?
Yeah.
You are, okay. So is it like, because you guys are, that's a weird place to live, right? Like, people are weird there. No?
Yeah. Go on.
My experience, but yeah, maybe.
So it's like, it's
It all depends
I
on what
don't,
you mean by weird.
well, like, I'm, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. Like every time I hear of somebody who's gone to LA and I'm like, hey, how was it? They're like, it's weird. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's not a good enough description for me. I just know that it's not like things that are normal there are not normal anywhere else in the universe. Like it just has its own.
I will say this, like, whenever people visit LA and they're like, it's weird, I'm like, where did you go? And they're like, Hollywood. I was like, oh, the place where people dress up like Spider-Man and Superman and hang out at touristy attractions. Yeah, that's a weird place to go. Don't go there. Of course you're going to see weird.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
It's always fun when someone comes to LA and they're like, "I want to experience the real LA." I'm like, "Where'd you go so far?" They're like, "I went to the Walk of Fame." I'm like, "All right, Ibn Battuta, let's go somewhere else."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Santa Monica, where all the breakdancers are. Yeah, because you're paying them to be there. Like, why would they not be there? There's a man dressed as a robot. Yeah, you were giving him cash. Of course, he's going to continue to be a robot.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel a bit stupid, so thank you both for that. That's nice.
I always feel bad when, like, you ever have that problem where someone goes, "I'm coming to your city, what should I do?" And then you just forget everything fun there is to do ever. You're like, fuck, I don't know. I think it's because what's fun for you as you live there is different than someone visiting, you know?
Yeah. I honestly tell people not to visit when they're like, I'm going to come visit LA. I'm like, to see me or just to visit? Like, just to visit LA. I'm like, don't come here. It's not a good vacation spot unless you're like really into like celebrities or something like that. And even then, they're not in LA. So like, I'm like, go to San Diego. San Diego's fun. There's like a cool zoo and like it's a fun time. Whereas like I feel like in LA, everybody is working towards something.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's not like that's not a fun thing to be in, really and truly.
It's like the mecca of charlatans. It's the mecca of charlatans. Let's be honest. That's right. And some of them are very good. Right. That's their whole thing. So
I had a friend who used to live out here, but his job was literally to help people who had like maybe moved here like a month or so ago because of some charlatan had told them something. And then they got it here and like, wait, this isn't at all what I thought it was going to be. And then he helped them like find bus money to get back to where they were from. He's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. There are no weed farms here in LA. You are not going to be a farmer of weed here in LA. Okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You are going to get bus money. You are going to go back to Iowa, and you're going to be a wiser person for it.
I feel like a lot of times when people are like, we've made progress in the world, and then you hear a story like that, you're like, we're all still idiots. Like, we're all still fucking morons.
It's the equivalent of, like, jacking off with your right hand all the time and your left arm has become a shriveled husk. And so, like, some things have advanced and others have not.
Right.
I think that's a you kind of problem.
Yeah. Atlas is like, by the way, you guys know that wizard? If you do, you let me know where he is. I'm going to get him. Gonna get him.
I've been to San Diego a lot and been jacking it in San Diego. No,
It's so bad.
That's my favorite song from South Park, is Jacking It in San Diego.
Obviously, sir. Obviously.
It's the best song. God, Caleb's moving right now. So, if anybody remembers our John D. Ruddy episode where I recorded that on my phone and dropped out in the middle of it, and so the reason for that was I had just moved into this apartment where I am now, and our internet wasn't set up yet, and I think I ran out of data in the middle of the thing. So I can just say, after this last move, I am never not getting movers ever again.
Yeah, you got to have movers now.
Yeah,
sure.
the days of I'll get you pizza if you help me move, and then like trying to do like 8 trips in my car. It's just no, it's not.
I'm telling you, one trip, buddy. One trip, change your life.
Yeah, one trip.
If you can't do it, you either don't have enough friends or you have too much stuff. It's a fair principle to live by.
The thing that what made it worse though was my girlfriend and I both had COVID. We both got Omicron from her family. So when we hired the movers, the initial idea was we had everything boxed up and we were going to be like, okay, we'll like help you carry it out to the truck, and then we had to go to both my girlfriend's place and my place to get our stuff, and then move it into the one apartment. But this time with COVID, her and I just stood outside of the building. We were just like, good luck. And I felt terrible because I knew they're like, what, they're not going to help? Jesus. But just didn't want to.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
See, that's it. Yeah. I'm a fan of, even into when I moved into, I moved in with my wife and her family, was like, I put stuff that I wanted to keep ended up being like 16 of the big Rubbermaids, and everything else just got thrown away. And I'm like, that's fine. It was clothes, like a few like memorabilia, a few random things. That was it. And I'm like, no, the rest it's not important. Mm-hmm. I think actually there was like 3 pieces of furniture I actually kept, and that's only because like my parents bought them and they were actually pretty cool. So I was like, no, I want to keep that. Right. Yeah. Everything else, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Just it feels nice to get new stuff too every so often, right? That's like, I hate redecorating because that seems like a waste of time, but moving and buying new stuff, I enjoy that.
Growing up, my mom always made us every 6 months or so go through your shit. We're giving stuff away to Goodwill. Go through your toys, go through your books, whatever. So now, I don't need to do that. Marie, what was it? Calendar, Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo.
Marie Callender's a different story.
Yeah. When you microwave a frozen meal.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, wrong Marie. Anyway, so I don't need to do the whole "does this spark joy" thing because it's been so ingrained into me from the beginning.
Yeah, Marie Callender does not spark joy.
Yeah. It sparks diarrhea.
Dude, I still have screenshots of that entire thread, and it was insane.
Wait.
Marie Callender.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Marie Callender. Yeah. I did a whole segment on another show, and it was 15 minutes of me reading through all the tweets and them going back and then calling their vaginas Virginias. You're like, what the hell is happening? It was a great story. Dude, it's as good as Thanks Obama. He's like, thanks, Marie Callender. I'm like, this is so good. And the pie was so burnt. It's like, you couldn't fuck it up. How did you fuck it up? I don't understand.
Oh my god.
It's like magic.
Classic Marie.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
What? Which part?
If anyone who's Marie is listening, is like, fuck you, man. Yeah, come on. Like, come on. Like, Mary, fun lady, you know?
Yeah.
But Marie, you're like, oh, she might be a snitch. Let's be honest. She doesn't give off those kind of vibes. It's fair.
There's Marie Curie, the chemist.
And she died, man. She died, and she did not go alone, okay? She affected people. You know?
Hey, you know what? At least he's not a CFC / lead and gasoline guy.
God, yeah, I did that clip this week.
Yeah.
Oh God, I forget what was his name was.
It's such a generic ass name, and I can never remember it.
Something Junior. It's the guy. Yeah. It's Andrew. It was an episode we did a while ago. It just got released this past week.
Thomas Midgley Jr.
Yeah, where he was the guy who added lead to gas, and as well, he's the one that created CFCs. You're like, those are two events that literally like decimated mankind on a global level. And you're like, that guy is worse than Hitler. Like he's literally destroyed generations worth of motor skills. Like, God, man, like it's brutal.
Oh my God. Okay, so I was talking to a friend from high school this week, Dino.
Yeah.
And he reminded me of this time in history class where we had to do presentations on dictators. And this one,
as one does.
Okay. So
he got all the good ones.
Yeah.
No. So this one kid, he got Hitler because he was lucky.
I don't know. That's not how you'd word that. I wouldn't say he got Hitler like a lucky guy.
He was lucky. He was lucky, and that was an easy dictator to research.
A plethora of research material.
Yes. Okay. So this kid discovered how to do like the transitions in PowerPoint between slides. So he decided to do like a different one for every slide. What he didn't realize was that between the photos of the mass graves at Auschwitz and a picture of Hitler himself was the heart transition.
Yes.
I feel like it was spot on, just not appropriate. Like, that's the right thing, but not in a nice way.
It was like buried in my psyche, and then when this friend, it all came pouring back because I remember exactly what happened. Mr. Lee, my history teacher, like ran over and he was like, "Turn off the transitions. Shut it off. Shut it off." Like,
yeah.
Wait, hold on. Quick question: was it from the from Auschwitz to Hitler, or from Hitler to Auschwitz? Which way was what was inside the heart? Let's put it that way.
Auschwitz to Hitler. So it goes like the heart transitions from the center of the Auschwitz, and then it radiates out, and there's Hitler's face.
That's much worse.
Yeah. What was the song?
What was the song?
Did he have songs in his transitions as well, or no?
No. I don't think he either didn't figure it out or just decided not to do them. But you can tell he didn't put any thought into it. He's like, this one goes here, and 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 just like.
You know what? There's a certain enjoyment of life that the youth have that is just lost. It's wasted on them because that will live on forever in that teacher's mind. He's like, if anyone finds out about that, I'm gonna get fired because that happened in my class. Just because I saw it happen, I'm gonna lose my job. Nah. Can you imagine what would happen if somebody heard about that now? Like if that happened at a regular school, someone would lose their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not someone. There would be a herd of people out there in 2-3 days. You'd have a protest on your hands. If it's where you guys are, oh my God!
Oh my God! I can't even remember the kid's name. I just remember that day.
It's probably for the best
because it was the kind of thing where we were just like, presentation day. Everyone's on edge. Everyone's nervous, and then like the people who have done their presentation, they just zone out. But just like immediately after that, everyone perks up. We're like, what the fuck?
That's so great.
Did you ever have anything like that happen, like a presentation or anything in school that just went horribly wrong for?
No, I don't think so. Like my presentations were always. I never tried. I was that kid who um, didn't really pay attention to other people's presentations. So if something did happen, I wasn't aware of it at the time because
I see.
I got I got called out a lot in class because my mind would just wander a lot during class, and I would come back to and like, uh-oh. Like I remember one time, my teacher would send me home with a report card that just said Andy often doesn't appear to be mentally in my class, but then he knows the answer, so I guess he's okay.
That's the best result. Like, yeah, he's not paying attention, but he is. So, it could be worse. I guess that's fine.
I was just really good at memorizing the text from the night before. Like I would just read the chapter ahead of time. Like, all right, you know this. Okay, good. And then I was kind of fade out.
That's winning at government education. You're like, yeah, you won. Good job. That's fair.
You're good about it.
I think as long as you learn the material, that's not necessarily a problem, is it?
Listen, it's not. Look. Regular school is not beneficial to you as a human being, right? Like, you have to make some serious choices as an adolescent that govern a lot of your future. That you are incapable of making those decisions at that time. Let's be honest, okay? Like the idea of going into higher education before you're actually a person. Like, think about it. Those people that you went to school with that were super, super about their studies and were always stressed out and they were just thinking about their grades, like, they're not good people. Like, they have not, if they've stayed with that high pressure learning and got on to be a doctor of medicine or something like that, you're like, yeah, they're not good people. They're assholes. And why? It's because they were burdened so much with education that they forgot to be human, right? Yeah. And it's very weird, right? So,
well, the point of like public school at least is just like, so you can read, so you can do math and all the stuff you need to like interact with society. But also there's that portion of it where it's kind of teaching you how to be good at office work, like get used to the 9-to-5 grind and stuff.
Like,
sure.
Yes, but also it doesn't identify people who aren't fit for that and then give them a solution.
Yeah, I think that's
the problem, right? Like, yeah, look, a lot of people, like, let's be honest, right? Of the people you meet, especially in comedy, you realize some people you're like, oh, you should never procreate. You're like, you're an idiot. Like, that's just not at all. Like, it's okay. Like, they're not going to go around murdering people, but you're like, that your genes should stop there. Like, there's no reason that should continue, right? So, in the same sense, people who can't work in an office environment or like, I've had, in the time that I worked for a financial institution, like, a lot of those years were spent in a bank branch, and it was the worst because I'd say fuck, shit, cock, and balls all the time, and people were like, you swear a lot, and I'm like, no, I swear an adequate amount because this place is horrible. And people were like, you shouldn't talk about that way about your employer. I'm like, then my employer should have paid me to not talk that way. That's how that works. Yeah, well, listen, I'm Greek. I am a bastard. That's, that's fair. So, but
I think the idea that college should be for everybody is a bad idea. And I went to a college that was notorious for taking everybody just because they knew financially it would work out for them. But then when because of the low grades, our school started to drop in ranking, nationally, they were like, okay, we got to stop this. I'm like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. Stop just taking money from people who don't need to be in college. Like, they're not a good student,
See, from my perspective, I'm like, if someone gets to college and I say within 2 months, you can kind of figure out, hey, I don't think this kid's going to benefit from this scenario. Is then you have they've paid for that year. So you're like, okay, help them figure out what they should do with their life because this isn't it. You know, I feel like there's a fair argument into using a year, not a year, how people are like, oh, I'm going to take a year off. You're like, you're an asshole, right? But other people are like, oh, I'm going to go get a job and try and have a real life and see how that is and realize what I'm fighting for, right? Because if you have a shit job and you're going, oh, I'm going to do this and save some money, and you realize, oh, this job is horrible. I want to get an education so I never have to work in this environment ever again.
Mhm.
That is a fair education. That is a learning experience that you'll benefit from. Realizing, oh, you know what? I don't want to be a waiter. It sucks.
Yeah. That's what my mom did. I think she said like her first year of high school, she was just like, yeah, I don't want to go to college. And then like after a year of like being like a secretary or something like that, she's like, I hate this. I'm going to go to college now. This is awful. I was like, smart.
I mean, if that's what it takes for people to like realize they want to go to college, then good. What's bad is when your whole life you're told you must go to college or else you're fucked. Take out the loans; it's fine. Your job will pay for them. Everything's gonna be nice, cool. Just go to college and everything will be all right. And then we did, and now we're all in debt. And
well, that's the same issue with regards to the fact that you have a for-profit medical system and now education and debt system, right? Like those are three systems that under no circumstances should be very profitable. They should be like reasonably profitable so that they can assist more and more people. That's fair.
Yes.
They should not operate at a loss. They should operate at everything is okay and paid for. The lights will stay on. That's what they should operate as, right? So the idea that people are profiting from education, you're like, that's fucked, because then they have an interest in what is they're educated on. Then with debt, it being, for profit, people will just take advantage of it and make you borrow and borrow and borrow and charge more and more and more because they can. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the health system. God damn it. You guys are dicks. Right? But what are you going to do?
Adopt me, Dino.
Are you kidding me? You have direct access to my wealth. Forget that.
I'll wear a propeller cap. I'll do anything. Just
you have to learn the tuba and walk behind me at all times. It's fair.
I played trumpet as a kid. I'm sure I can figure it out.
Have you seen there's a lady who's very, very small but has a son who's very, very tall, and he plays the trombone, and he'll play while she's walking? Like she leans over, is like, and makes fun of her the whole time. It's very entertaining.
That's funny.
Well, there's a lot of weird stuff on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, man. It's like this show, which who the fuck knows what's happening here? Let's be honest.
I gotta say, I am learning about sweat glands I didn't know I had right now. So you're just lucky that you can't see the actual sweat. It's just a glow. But from here, I am learning that I am glad that I have running water and can shower after this. Hey. And also, I'm probably going to shave my head. Not like bald, but just trim it a lot because it's thick and it's hot and I can't anymore.
Number one, fuck you and your luxurious hair. Number one, okay? and number two, man, just go hose yourself down. That's the best part. Especially in like hot weather, a cold shower, it feels great, right?
Yeah. And you come out shivering and you're like, yes, finally. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Ugh. I hate the summertime. It's fat
guy. Me too.
Though.
It's the worst season. Everyone's like, I can't wait for summertime, beach time. Fuck you. I can summer. Okay. I went to the Women's March at LA yesterday. And I'm sick of all the political fuckery happening during summer. Just once, I want to be able to take it to the streets during sweater weather. Can I just have that happen once? Please. My dumbass...
I get that logic. That is fair logic. It is,
My dumbass put on sunscreen on my face. And then my sweat caused it to get into my eyes, and I was just, crying in pain. Not crying out of pain, but just shedding tears trying to get the sunscreen out. And then I got home and my girlfriend was like, you know that there's body sunscreen and face sunscreen, right? You probably put body sunscreen on your face, which you're not supposed to do. And I was like, I didn't know, dude. I just thought sunscreen was sunscreen.
As far as I know, it's still a thing. I didn't know there was space sunscreen either. I was like, I still think that's a lie. I was like, show me the space sunscreen that you're talking about.
Listen, just know that Katie saw you put it on and said, this is a teaching moment, and he's going to remember this if I play this right. She saw you put it on, and she's like, he's going to cry, and I'm going to pounce and he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn that I know
Yeah.
things. That's fair. That's welcome. You are already married, sir.
So we're like marching through the streets. And they're like, repeal Roe, hell no, and then like that's happening. I'm like, water. Somebody like I was half hoping the riot cops would show up with hoses just so I could stand in the hose blast and just get the sunscreen out of my eyes. Like,
Oh man.
I feel like that logic works until you actually get hit by it and realize that you've made a catastrophically horrible decision.
oh yeah,
Because it'll blow your brains right out your head.
oh yeah, it's concussive. It's a joke, my dude. Just
Still, it'd be great because I can see that logic coming, going, "Well, I just need water for my face," and then,
yeah.
who wants to drink from the fire hose?
Or you just kind of stand nearby. Wait, what?
I was gonna say, did you ever see the movie UHF?
No.
Oh, God.
They're like, guess who gets to drink from the fire hose? And it's like this little kid show, and the kid's like, yeah, and they just turn a fire hose full blast on him. He gets like just knocked off the seat.
Oh my god.
It's what's his face, Kramer, that does it.
Yeah.
And it's a dude. This kid goes flying. You just turn on the fire hose, and the kid's like, boom, and just go, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty much exactly how that works.
Dude, Weird Al's in this thing? Fran Drescher?
Yeah,
It was like
man.
it was him at then his height. He was like, yeah, a movie, and they're like, this is gonna be great, and they released it at the same time as Batman came out, and then UHF did not do that well because it's like the same time as Batman, Tim Burton's Batman. It's like, yeah, well.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was, it was
Super
the
fun
other.
Emo Phillips is in it. Has a great part. As a what was he, like a carpentry teacher or something like that?
Who?
Emo
Kramer
Phillips.
was the janitor. Oh,
No, Phillips was
Joe Early, it says.
Yeah, Joe Early, the local high school woodshop teacher or something like that.
Oh,
maybe. It's a very weird movie, but you'll watch it and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And what's his face? Daniel Radcliffe is playing Weird Al in his biopic.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited
Which
for that.
is fantastic. And you know what?
Yeah.
Even seeing the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks ridiculous. I can't wait to see it.
Did you ever
just completely asinine? I love it.
Did you ever see Swiss Army Man?
Yes.
I want to. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's knowing that he can do whatever he wants and he just does whatever he wants, like for projects. He's not trying to make high art. He just makes whatever he thinks is interesting, and I love the hell out of that.
Well, he's like Frankie Muniz, but not a complete asshole, right? Like he's like, oh, I did something as a kid. Now I'm rich. I can do whatever I want. But Frankie Muniz is apparently a dickhole. So,
yes. Well, didn't he also take like a bunch? He has like brain damage and took a bunch of blows to the head.
Look, man, he's like 4'11" and has a weird shaped head. I don't care. He's a weird guy. But
he's Agent Cody Banks, so it's fine.
Which made it worse, if anything. You're like, what are you?
What?
Like,
okay.
Pretend James Bond of something, but everyone is taller than you, and also you're a grown ass man. That's weird.
That just sounds like Tom Cruise. All of that sounds like Tom Cruise.
I like Tom Cruise, so I'm going to say no. But yeah, probably. They're all weird, man. Listen, it's a lot of short people that are getting famous that really. I'm just looking, going, really? Okay. All right, sure. Well, whatever.
One of my favorite like running gags on Family Guy is the "we now return to" like fake TV show where it's like we now return to a Tom Cruise movie with all the step stools included.
Was it Family Guy that Tom Cruise was the same size as Stewie? He was the same size as the baby?
I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's ridiculous. He's accurate, though. He's little, man.
Yeah. We now return to Home Alone with competent robbers. There's some ice. There's some ice on the stairs to the basement, so I guess just don't go down there. And the doorknob was hot to the touch, so I just took my hand off. And then like Kevin shows up at the top of the stairs, and he's like, "Hey, just so you guys know, I have a tarantula." And then they shoot him, and then like, just for some witnesses, and then that's it. Like,
it's fantastic. It's great.
It's great.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
We have one more question for you, but first, you want to where can people find you and follow you and all that stuff?
I'm on Instagram at Andy Ryder again, and I think Twitter as the Andy Ryder. I obviously post there a lot, but yeah, on Instagram at Andy Ryder again.
Right on.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
You can find us at Generation Dan on Twitter, or you can follow me at Atlas Novak on Twitter, Instagram, and you can follow Caleb, who is not here, at Caleb C. McDuff on Twitter. How about you?
Yes. Where apparently things are going to happen eventually at some point. Probably after he moves. He'll be very tired. He's going to have to get on the thing. Yeah, I'm at Dino the Genetic Marvel, or my YouTube channel is under Big Bad Dino, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But, if you just Dino the Genetic Marvel, it's me. And I put all sorts of clips. I do it for this show, for other shows, all sorts of stuff.
You should get a link tree. I got one of those recently.
I know it's supposed to make things more simple, but at the same time, it's just driving me crazy because I don't know. I don't even know if what is happening with the whole world. The other day we had something that had 1,300 views, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And it's like, and now no more. I'm like,
yeah, it's very random. And you'd think people would, that was funny. I wonder if any of the others are good. Subscribe. Subscribe, tell a friend, leave a comment.
I am getting subscribers. I'm up to 56.
Ooh, that's good.
Well, I was only started posting stuff again end of January of this year, right? And now I'm already up 20 subscribers. So it's something. I don't know. Well, then I see other people and they're like, "Oh, I got 400,000 subscribers in 3 months," and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Are they people though, or are they just bots? I don't know. I wonder about that stuff sometimes.
I don't know. There's a strong argument, Andrew, that we're all living in a simulation, and this is the Truman Show for every individual person. It's very weird, and I'll be honest. At this point, I'm just going, all right, sure. Maybe it's all an illusion, and I'm just going to keep on talking until I say something that's awesome.
I just love the idea. There was a thing where Elon Musk was like, if I take over Twitter, I'm going to get rid of all the bots. I'm like, so basically all of your followers are going to be gone. Most of your things are bots, so.
I don't think, maybe at one point. I don't know, dude. I feel like a lot of people, how much does that stuff cost? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
A lot of people seem like they're like, well, you have to do it, and then it kind of takes off from there by itself. And I'm like, that seems weird. It seems like you just have to pay to become popular. And then people are like, and then now you're popular. I don't know. That sounds weird.
Depends.
I don't remember the name, but they wrote for Parks and Recreation. And they've written for The Good Place, a bunch of other stuff. But if you go to their Twitter account, I don't think they even post there anymore. But they were just like, hey, back in 2007, I bought 400,000 followers for $500, and that's when I started getting noticed for some reason. Anyways, celebrity's weird. See you later, and that's his Twitter account. That's all it is. It's that's. And he's a funny guy. He's not funny. He has a Netflix special and stuff like that. But it's just that's crazy.
Andrew, I'm not sure you noticed, but look at me. I'm a caricature of a human being. I think I could be famous. In a weird kind of polarizing sense.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, and I've learned to not be as mean on the internet. That's also. Remember, when I started going on the internet, it was the Thunderdome, and I was peak hormones. It was not a good time. I told a lot of people bad things.
Yeah.
It was horrific. If you ever got told off by Dino Diggler, it was me or a buddy of mine, and we were not nice to people. Sorry. My apologies. I'm a better person now.
All right.
But,
well, our last question before you go. You being a comedian, what is your most memorable set, good, bad, weird, or otherwise?
So this was maybe 2 or 3 years into doing comedy, and me and a couple other people all decided to go do. We got asked to open up for a roller derby competition, a roller derby event or whatever it's called. I don't know the right thing, but I was like, this will be fun because I like doing comedy in weird places, and that comedy should not be happening. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And Dusty Slay was on the show too. It was me and Dusty Slay, who's has a Netflix half hour and stuff like that. But we were on this thing together, and we were both early in comedy, and the guy who's hosting it, we kind of know him from comedy, and he comes up to us immediately. He's like, "Hey, I told them not to do this. This is such a bad idea." He's like, "The sound in here is awful. That the sound just echoes everywhere. It will never reach the audience." And we're like, "Oh, okay." And then he's like, "Anyways, I'm gonna bring you up first. Is that okay?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." He's like, "Cool." And then he introduced me as his friend Daniel, which is not my name.
Yeah.
And then as I'm doing comedy, people are just kind of staring at me, and I look behind me, and behind me is the women's roller derby team doing stretches and stuff like that. And then there's a couple of referees just skating backwards around me while I'm trying to do comedy this whole time. And I was like, I don't even know what's happening right now. Like, why did you have to come out right now? You have like a whole hour before the event starts. You couldn't do this in the locker room of all places. Yeah. So this is happening. I don't think any of us did well as far as comedy goes. And then like Dusty like went up to the person who was like sort of in charge of things. He was like, "Hey, I noticed you guys have food laid out." They're like, "Yeah, it's for some of our sponsors." He's like, "Yeah, can we have some of that to like make up for what just happened just now?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess so." So like Dusty like got us food and everything. But it was such a bizarre thing just having people roller skate around me while I was doing comedy. I hated it so much. What is going on?
I'm imagining like a little raised thing, and they're like in the track around you, right? Or
I wish. No. We were on the same. I was just on the bare gym floor. No stage whatsoever. Just with a mic that I'm still not sure worked. It might not have worked. I don't even know.
I feel like it's like a roller derby version of West Side Story, where they're like going around you and like taunting you, maybe like poking you with a stick or something. Yeah, there's definitely. Yeah. I feel like there are certain situations that you're like, I don't know what to do in this situation. This is insane. And good for you for surviving. That's Yeah,
hey, I made it through 10 minutes. Did it. Boom.
May you never do comedy at a roller derby again.
Well, at least not with a not working mic. You want to make sure it really has some good sound.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
That's fantastic.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye everyone.